Rasmus Hojlund. From being compared to the likes of Erling Haaland to becoming the youngest player to score a hat-trick for Denmark, this is the rise of Hojlund. Born on February 4, 2003 in the city of Copenhagen, Denmark, Hojlund was actually never interested in becoming a professional footballer, but a swimmer. Speaking with the media, his dad said, "One day a staff suddenly called from the swimming club and he said that Rasmus had a great talent for swimming. He then asked my permission to make my son formally begin his swimming career. But for Rasmus, it was an easy choice. With two younger brothers, Hojlund always loved the competitiveness of football. And so, Rasmus Hojlund began his football career at Brondby United. Even at a young age, Hojlund's potential was clear as day. Fast, big, and strong. Physically speaking, he was unstoppable. And so, after dominating local competition for a year, Hojlund would decide to switch to join the infamous FC Copenhagen in search for a bigger challenge, and thus beginning his football journey grinding through the youth systems, moving rapidly from the U16s to the U19s and then finally the U21s. And boy was he on fire. He ended up scoring 15 goals and 3 assists in 27 games. At this point, Hojlund was still only 17. And after his impressive season for the youth team, on October 2021, he would make his professional debut for Copenhagen. Despite not scoring, he still looked very sharp. But honestly, Hojlund's transition didn't go as planned. The speed and the physicality of a professional league was just too much for the 17-year-old at the time. And so he began to struggle, ending his 2021 season with 5 appearances and 0 goal contributions. Bringing us to the 21-22 season, where it would get a little better for Hojlund. By January, he had played 27 games and had 5 goals to his name. On paper, these stats don't look great, but on the pitch, it was something else. Hojlund is the exact opposite of a one-dimensional striker. He has so many parts to his game, including becoming a link-up striker, a target man, or even getting behind the defense. And with these great performances, he was attracting attention from European clubs. And so, in the January transfer window, Austrian side SK Sturm Graz would sign Hojlund for about £1.95 million. For those of you who don't know about Sturm Graz, they're one of the biggest teams in Austria, known for their development of young players and their exciting attacking style. And this was where Hojlund would unleash his full potential. On his debut for the club, he would score 2 goals to help the team earn a 2-2 draw. And it wouldn't stop there, scoring 4 goals in his first 3 games for the team. He ended his debut season with the Austrian side with 6 goals and 1 assist in 13 games. Not bad for a debut season if you ask me. Graz manager Christian Ilser soon realized that Hojlund was a different class to his peers. He said, "Hojlund has always been a self-confident boy. He has flair, speed, and above all his football intelligence." Graz went on to finish second in the Austrian Bundesliga, only behind Red Bull giant Salzburg, with the help of Hojlund. Bringing us to the previous season, the 22-23. Hojlund started off the season on fire, scoring 6 goals in his first 8 games. And this was enough to attract the attention of some European sides, with Newcastle, Club Brugge, and Borussia Dortmund all sniffing around. But it was Atalanta who won the race for his signature, as Graz accepted the Italian club's $15 million bid at the end of August. And after just being at the club for 7 months, he was sold for a record-breaking fee to Atalanta. This was going to be Hojlund's biggest test so far. With all due respect to the Danish and Austrian league, it doesn't come close to the level of a top 5 European league. And boy did Hojlund notice a difference. In the first half of the season, he only had 13 appearances, ending up with 1 goal and assist. But in all fairness, he only averaged 45 minutes a game. When you're not playing week in and week out, it's really hard to develop, especially as a young player. But the second half of the season was completely different. Atalanta were underdogs when they faced Lazio at Stadium Olimpico on February 11th. Having lost a reverse fixture earlier in the campaign. But Hojlund would have his best performance in an Atalanta shirt, after almost scoring 2 spectacular solo goals inside the first 48 minutes, only to narrowly come up short with his finishing on both occasions. But he would eventually get his goal that his performance deserved, just after the hour mark, sliding the ball home from his close-range effort, latching onto a cross from Ademola Lookman. The goal effectively sealed a 2-0 victory for Atalanta, and his manager Gasperini heaped praise on Hojlund after the final whistle. Hojlund has a spirit, energy, intensity, but also technical quality that is just remarkable. He still has so much margin for improvement too. He's so quick, he's under 11 seconds over 100 meters, and that's not even trying very hard. Considering his height, he has a low center of gravity and can move his legs very fast. I'm convinced he's going to have a great career. But Hojlund's meteoric rise didn't stop here. and on March he was back on international duty with Denmark in a Euro 2024 qualifier against Finland. The 20-year-old would have the game of his life, scoring a brilliant hat-trick to get Denmark a 3-1 victory. And a couple days later, he would get himself a brace in their surprising loss to Kazakhstan, and after being left out on Denmark's squad for the 2022 World Cup 4 months earlier. In the space of a week, Hojlund made himself undroppable. But back to the league campaign, where he ended the second half of the season with 9 goals and 3 assists in 21 games. To hit double-digit goals in your first season while also being only 19 years old is absolutely crazy. But is he really the next Erling Haaland? And at first glance, the similarities between Haaland and Hojlund are fairly obvious. The Scandinavian duo both have long blonde hair, both are over 6 feet tall, possess a cannon of a left foot, and share a brutish quality in the final third. Let's look at some of their similarities. Both strikers love to press, as well as both strikers' traits of being in the central areas. A lot of strikers nowadays will drift into wider areas to find space, but our duo does everything in the middle. If we look at Rasmus Hojlund's open play touches at Sturm, you would find most of his touches in the central areas. And you could say the same thing about his time at Atalanta, with 11% of his touches coming in the central areas. And when you compare these two touch matches, they look extremely similar. But while there are plenty of similarities between these two, both physically and statistically, there are also differences. Some of these could be tied to their roles within the system, but some will just be to do with them as a player. For example, Hojlund isn't yet as much of a volume monster. Across his time with Sturm Graz and Atalanta, he's averaged 2.4 shots per 90 and has an XG per 90 of 0.41. By comparison, Haaland has averaged 3.8 shots per 90 across his time with RB Salzburg and Borussia Dortmund. Also, his average XG per 90 was 0.9. But being compared to Haaland from a volume perspective is always going to be a losing battle. And Hojlund's XG per 90 of 0.47 is very respectable in the Serie A. Just 10 players can boast a better tally. Overall, Hojlund loves to use both feet, with 25% of his shots coming from his right foot versus Haaland's 15%. Given the age of both strikers, these are obviously small sample sizes, but these are noticeable differences, because while the Atlanta man isn't as lethal as Haaland, his variety of shot selection shows that there are potentially several ways in which he can hurt you. His unpredictability in the penalty area is a useful trait to have, especially as a goal scorer. And so this brings us here, where two clubs are competing for Hojlund's signature: Manchester United and PSG, and thus the interest in the 20-year-old is understandable. He's still raw in certain areas, but with regular minutes this can be improved. In Hojlund, there's a player who possesses intelligent movement, power, pace, and an attitude to score a variety of goals. He could soon follow Haaland to the Premier League, and if deployed in the right system, the left-footed goal scorer could have a similar impact on the English Premier League. Let me know what you guys think down below. Would you rather him go to Man United or PSG? Thanks for watching, and peace.
Here we go.